Thank you all for joining us. I'm Dr. Kimpa, I'm the CEO for Fintech Belgium. It's great to see all these people here, even though everybody's probably stressed about everything that has to happen before the holiday. But leave all of that behind. We're going to look at a great report that was written between Sailpeak and Fintech Belgium. And I can actually say that because I had to read the report because we had some interviews with journalists. And as I said earlier, I was very pleasantly surprised by the insights that we have. So we'll have some people running through that with you today. The first step of what we're going to do is we're going to look in the report and see what the major takeaways are from the report by Nico, who is a partner at Sailpeak, and Sailpeak who has written the report together with us. Afterwards, we are going to hear from Anthony Belfius at BNP, looking how to put AI at work, and again at how BNP is actually using AI for the moment. Moving over from banking to insurance with the keynote from Arjan Bergmus, and then delving into two actual use cases from Fintech Belgium members on AI in financial services, followed by a short Q&A with the keynote speakers. So after the keynotes, we're going into the use cases. There will be a quick Q&A with the use cases, but all the keynote speakers will come back at the end if you have extra questions. If all of that was clear and there are no urgent questions for me, then I will happily hand over to Nico, who is going to run through the AI Barometer together with you.
Thanks, Raf. Hi, everyone. I am Nico. I'm the co-founder of Sailpeak, and I'm really happy to be here to present you the result of a long journey across AI. This is the second edition, and that is already a success because we made it like the second time, yes. Today we're going to talk about this barometer. It's a lot of work, yes indeed, because we spent the last few months in actually asking to the decision makers in the financial services industries, that means banks and insurance companies, about the maturity of AI. We started with a questionnaire of about 20 questions, and we asked the main decision makers, the ones that are making AI happen in those institutions, for their answers. So that means Arjan, Frédéric, Anthony, etc. personally answered this questionnaire. And then, because, well, it's good to have data, but it's also very good to have some perspectives on data, we carried out interviews with those ones that were willing to share what they're doing, and for the ones that had maybe that who also took the time to answer our questions. So we interviewed 13 people. That means about 65% of the retail banking industry in Belgium in terms of total asset. It's about 70% of the insurance industry in Belgium in terms of gross written premium, and it's about 60% of the wealth and private banking market in terms of asset under management. So it's a pretty sizable coverage of the market. This is the second edition, and of course what is nice is because we now have 2 years, we can also draw some conclusion and see the evolution from one year to the other. It is very interesting to have this, and Arjan, thanks for spending a bit of time with us and sharing your perspective. I think it's valuable for everybody in the market, and this is why we did that in the first place. I was very frustrated because I couldn't find any data point on Belgium. We had data point from the UK, from global, etc., but not from Belgium. And how can you make educated decisions if you don't have data? So that was the main point. And of course, it's not only me who are interested, but also the players in the market themselves, because they can benchmark themselves. And this is why we also introduce a kind of a classification. to show and to kind of evaluate yourself towards the others. So you'll see the report, and the report is here, and you're gonna have a copy for, there's a copy for everyone at the end of. You're pretty good. You do weddings as well? Yes, of course. Well, what we find out in 5 parts is, first of all, this AI is so important that institutions are really getting serious about it. The first data point to prove this is the centralization of this element within the organization with, it's a way to take control about this new tech and to control also the diffusion of the tech. And what you see is this year, more than 80% of the institutions said they had a centralized center of excellence or special tribe or center of expertise around AI, which is a big difference from last year where we had about 30%. The other point that we uncovered is the strategy, the roadmap. It is interesting to have a central team, but it's even more interesting to have a clear mandate, a clear roadmap that is validated at the highest level from the executive committee. And here we can see that more than 60% have a roadmap, a clear roadmap on AI, a 3 to 5 year plan on how it is going to be embedded, diffused in the organization. And then we asked a kind of a tricky question, which is how much did you spend? Well, we couldn't ask the number, of course, but we asked the evolution from 2014 to 2015. And what you see is a large amount is being poured into AI at the moment, because 40%, almost 40%, almost doubled that budget in AI from last year to this year. And when we asked about next year, and when we asked this question, it was about March, so that was quite early in the process of planification for next year, you can see that the highest peak is around 50% increase. So we may see, and we still have 23% that are not yet sure. So we are going to see a continuous investment, an increased investment in AI in last year, probably maybe a bit less than this year, but still sizable when you think about the growth rate of those institutions. That means compared to the total budget, AI is taking a bit more space in the spending. But the thing is, well, they want result of this investment. And what is really striking to me is that, first of all, they want results now. It's not like we invest and we're going to see in a few years. About 50% want to have return on investment that is break-even or positive this year. And some are actually, really ambitious. They want to have a return on investment that is more than 3x. We were not sure when we put this data point in the questionnaire. Would that be? We wanted to see what was the end of the scale. But yeah, that's remarkable. Well, we asked about what type of value do you want to extract, in terms of return on investment. And the two things are, one, productivity. Day-to-day work, being able to do things faster, more efficiently. But also process efficiency. That means processes. That means end-to-end embedding of AI. That means rethinking the processes, etc. So that's clearly the key focus for all these players. You can see that increased revenue, well, it's not yet. So we are really focusing on the cost element and the productivity, and a bit on customer experience, and this is mainly through chatbots, I would say. What else? Well, GenAI is being embedded everywhere. That's also a really interesting insight. Last year, we asked a lot of questions with domains and subdomains to see where AI was used. And we had predictive AI and we had generative AI. This year, we only took generative AI because, wow, nobody cares about predictive AI in it. And what we can see is last year, I could have shown last year, but last year we had everything was on the left-hand side. It was in the lab. It was being piloted, but very few were actually being deployed, even narrowly deployed. What we see this year is the AI is leaving the lab. It's getting in the business, in the products, in the core processes. And what you can see is, yes, of course you have customer segmentation. Of course you have marketing personalization because this is a no-brainer, but you also have the chatbot. The chatbot is getting smarter. We said recently that the chatbots were dumb. We had a few calls from banks saying, well, are you sure? But we said it publicly. And this year we see that the chatbots are getting a layer of generative AI on top of the traditional intent-based technology that most are using. And, well, beyond customer-facing solutions, we see that in terms of core processes, KYC, anti-money laundering are the processes where AI is being the most deployed at the moment. Core processes, so that means, well, in terms of customer experience, that doesn't change anything, except maybe that the bank will be, or the insurance company will be a bit faster in onboarding you and giving you some decisions. In terms of insurance, of course, claims processing, fraud detection being heavily invested or taken over by GenAI. And, well, I don't know if you have asset managers around, but, well, it would be time to start using GenAI because it seems that you're not really interested right now, except for market survey, market watch, analyzing of the market, etc. Yes, I'm speeding up. Striking is coding here. All are using assistant to make coding faster, more qualitative, and more understandable. Voilà. What we see as well is beyond the processes, we see also the employees starting to use it. And when we ask a few questions like, how do you make your organization prepared for GenAI? Everybody said, yes, we have a literacy program. Yes, we have an education program. The difference is literacy, you need by the Act to actually explain what is GenAI to your employees, etc. But it's beyond that. It's actually embedding formal GenAI training in the curriculum, in the career path of all the employees. What else? Have you deployed a GenAI tool to all employees like ChatGPT, and I was surprised because at least 50% said yes to all employees, which is a part of a challenge, right? Most of them are still providing a chat bot to the employees, but not all functions have it. What type? Of course, Copilot. Copilot, because these companies are heavily Microsoft Office biased. Therefore, it's easier to take a Copilot license. It doesn't require any development, and the product is pretty good. But a lot also decided to either experiment or completely deployed an internal assistant that is on-site, where you cannot actually have a risk of data getting spilled over or data loss, etc., etc. So that's an interesting part. And few have then started experimenting, most of all, Copilot and the internal chatbot. New challenges, well, do you think you're going fast enough? The answer is no. Yeah, we're not going fast enough. I think this is also because the technology is going that fast, that keeping up with it is difficult. So it's depending on the reference that you take in terms of saying yes, too slow or too fast. The reason is complexity of integration in the system. and the buy-in of the business lines. You cannot deploy AI if the users, they don't understand, if they're not capable of actually explaining how they could use AI. So you need to train them. You have to actually get everybody on board with a certain level of maturity in terms of AI, so that they can take the technology that is on the shelf or provided by the AI team and use it. So it's interesting because last year it was only about regulation and data, availability of data, etc. is still there, but now that we are going into the implementation phase, of course, integration and business buy-in. The future is, of course, agentic AI. Of course, there is the cloud, because this is the basis, to have a cloud infrastructure that is capable of scaling and hosting the AI use cases. But most importantly, agentic AI. We see also prompt engineering somewhere, RAG, guardrails, and a bit lower multimodal, emotional. Emotional AI, I think it's understated here, because it should be higher, if you think in terms of customer interaction. But because this is not yet the focus, maybe we'll see emotional AI go a bit higher in the next editions. Well, the good news is we have a lot of good tech startup and scale-ups in Belgium, and we took the crème de la crème and put it in the report. So if you have needs, go and look in the market. There are a lot of very smart, brilliant people in Belgium that are capable of helping you to deploy AI. I will finish with this. AI is like swimming. Thank you so much, Ariane. I really like this one. It's like swimming. You need to jump, right? It's not. It's so difficult. It's so challenging. If you don't jump, it's never going to happen. And the last one is, well, it goes so fast that the moment you take a decision, it's already updated. So be prepared. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nico. We should have known better than to allocate 10 minutes for a 72-page report that you were very passionate about. But thank you very much for those insights. And before we go on, I would like to ask for a very big round of applause for Nico and the whole team at Sailpeak, because it's no easy feat, I think, to build a report like this. There are great insights. And as you said, there's a lot of great technology available, and we'll hear from a few of them later on today as well. Next on the agenda is looking at AI from the side of financial institutions, and in this case, the bank. So we have Anthony Belfius with us, who is working for BNP Paribas Fortis, and who will give us some insight on BNP and AI.
Thank you, and excited to be here. I think the role I want to play tonight is being the Mr. Concrete, and to just provide a kind of testimonial on how we approach AI, what are the investment focus areas that we see, and what's next. And so I hope it's insightful for some of the fintechs and the scale-ups here in the room to see the reasoning of the corporate as us, and towards the co-fellow banks and insurers. If there is something new that you can learn, that would be great. And if it's is the case, then please have a chat, and maybe you can share something back then. So let's go. BNP Paribas Fortis, the focus area will do is as well how to bring along large labor workforces in this type of new area. BNP Paribas Fortis, obviously, is a company that is not a native AI type of bank. We are pre-AI, we are pre-mobile, we were pre-internet, we were pre the first computers, we were pre the first steam engines, we were pre the first electricity generation, etc., etc. The company exists for more than 200 years. And it's to some extent great to see that the mission of the company never changed. It's to fuel economical growth by providing credit to entrepreneurs, to companies like yours, to citizens if they have projects. But but this means that we also had to deal with previous industrial revolutions. If you would classify AI as a kind of candidate for industrial revolution, which we believe is absolutely the case. Very exciting for us as a kind of AI team within BNP Paribas Fortis that in previous lives, BNP Paribas Fortis was a real frontrunner. So this is a picture of 1864. And at that moment in time, we had more than 500 kilometer railway tracks under management. So we were a real pioneer in mobility solutions. And so we also want to be a frontrunner in some of the areas that AI can bring. I'm sure you share the passion with us. If not, probably you would not have been interested into an AI Barometer. It's a very exciting time to be involved in the financial industry. So the McKinseys of this world and many other type of consultants are putting forward that the financial industry is the biggest beneficiary next to the big tech industry for AI type of applications. It's pretty normal because we have typically large customer bases, large workforces, and for sure, quite some processes with lots of. So that's typically where AI, of course, can flourish. Today, to just give you a kind of number, it's also becoming material for us. It's not the Fortis number, BNP Paribas Fortis, it's, let's say, all the entities of the group together. But today, if you look towards the portfolio of projects that we have in production, used by colleagues, the value, the recurrent value, both in efficiencies, but also in new customer revenue, is roughly €500 million right now. So it's typically efficiencies because maybe we can use predictive AI or traditional AI to predict the ML risk of a certain client so that we can reorientate, let's say, our people more towards a high impact type of cases. Or it's adding value to new revenue creation by having, of course, just at the Netflixes, also traditional AI being applied for upsell and cross-sell type of opportunities. How are we organized within BNP Paribas Fortis? Speed and how to deal with speed was one of the areas that came up. So we decided to really create a kind of tribe, we call it, or a scale up, as to say, within the bank, that really regroups all the competencies you need to have. People that can manage the relationship with the different métiers, retail banking, corporate banking, private banking, IT as a function, and so on. Product managers, business analysts, machine learning engineers, data scientists, so we can do everything from roadmap creation towards managing applications in production and doing the change management together with the business. And so it's a kind of way to be accountable, just like a software as a service company for an ARR. We are accountable that today we are making the right bets, prioritizing the right type of projects to really create a book of business that represents that annual recurrent value creation in our case. And we also, just like any scale up here in the room, we also have a kind of board of directors, an AI board, where typically we have the business lines and the CEO, the Chief Transformation Officer being represented. From a focus area, where do we see potential and where do we invest? It's typically AI for new client experiences. We really believe that today, generative AI is so powerful to understand language. And so if you have today a chatbot dealing with all types of support requests, I'm sure that your current generation of chatbot has the phenomenon that maybe your customer needs to ask the questions 2 times before he's being served. And so generative AI is very good in understanding the intent of the client, and we see lots of potential to really upgrade, let's say, the quality of our chatbots. An AI for processes, again, generative AI so good that we can have a kind of second wave of automation next to the robots that most of us as banks have already running. And an example case at our site is that we have a contact center receiving more than 4 million calls. A call is an unstructured type of information, but each call needs to be updated after the call in the CRM system. We sell investment products, there's MiFID controls and all type of stuff. So there are so many steps once a call is completed. that if you have AI being able to transcribe well the call, that you can also automate afterwards, automated type of CRM updates and so on. And then finally, the focus area for the remainder of the time is on augmenting ourselves, augmenting colleagues. So that's the kind of project that we see as a very important culture game changer. So banks, typically, if you look towards the collective time spent from a large labor force as us, 12,000 people, if you really would, let's say, classify all the time spent collectively, there would be a big part on admin, unfortunately. Part on relationships, a part on expertise, but a big part on admin. And it's growing. And it's growing because we have more and more regulation and so on. So the reason why we see an augmented employee type of strategy and that we want to, let's say, apply this to everyone, 100% of our employee base, is that we want to gradually create a shift. Let's say that the time spent that we all do collectively is much more limited for the admin part in favor of the two other type of sections. So that's the transformation that we want to create. It's not about reductions, not about, it's about shift of collective time spent into the right area according, let's say. We do two things. We have Yara as an internal type of brand for our generative AI chatbots and agents. And we use Copilot. Copilot we do in beta testing, 500 people. 12,000 people today use Yara inside. Why do we have Yara? It's for confidentiality aspects. So we can today rely on Yara that is deployed internal the bank on our own type of infrastructure for all types of documents, also confidential type of documents. And we have more control because we can train it with our BNP vocabulary, product information, and so on. The strategy that we are following, and that's one we openly share, is that we have seen before the rollout of Yara that quite some colleagues were anxious about AI. And probably we were on average, like the Belgian market, I think 30% of the Belgians is using ChatGPT from times to times. That's, I think, the current stage. I hope somebody can confirm. That's probably the average that we also had. And so if we want to bring everyone on board, we want to make sure that we have a program in place that we can onboard everyone. You, of course, need to give the tool in the hands of the colleagues. That's Yara. But it needs to be used in the right way. So you need to have accompaniment. You need to stimulate in objectives the people managers, that they have discussions with their teams where, let's say, generative AI can play a kind of good role. And so we succeeded in having today 12,000 colleagues on our platform with all the literacy that is required. And I honestly think that we probably are one of, in the corporate world, one of the more modern AI literate type of work processes because of this type of program. And the big benefit is that if you are acquainted with AI, then also you probably know better than who else where to apply AI. And so we also assist our teams to think about advanced prompts so that they can really apply, let's say, the maximum out of Yara. Where we do top-down type of investments, because that's the bottom-up innovation, is typically done in areas where we see that there's lots of scaled type of impact. And so we create vertical interfaces, for example, for our IT teams that they can use directly from their dev tools, let's say the generative AI platform that we have. So it's a combination of ensuring that everyone has access, can get acquainted, also the people who are today designing processes in the company, also the people who are managing products in our company, and so that we gradually have a bit of a grassroots type of innovation in combination with the more big flagship type of projects like coding. What's next, or what is happening already, is that if you have today prompts to an internal assistant, and a prompt is basically to get a kind of answer back, you can also convert already prompts and agents. Not longer doing a response, but doing an action. And it starts with really basic stuff, but we see a kind of big benefit that we have now that asset, that 12,000 people are able to interface with a chatbot and can start also asking the chatbot to do stuff. And so that's a bit the way how we see the first steps on the agentic side. And then a glimpse on so there is a bit more. I'm not going to focus on this one. it's not easy for everyone dealing with AI, and so the hand-holding, the learning and development, the stimulation, making sure that if people are discouraged because they used it as a kind of search engine with a couple of keywords, that you really bring them on board and continuously repeat the message. That is required if you really want to master, let's say, what is to some extent the human part and the machine part in a certain type of task. Glimpse on the future. Agentic AI, it was on the barometer, clearly one of the areas. We don't look at pure a kind of hyper automation type of capability, but we also think that collectively, and it counts for all the colleagues here in the room that are either a retail bank or selling to consumers, you have already today a kind of example where the client is not longer a human, but a kind of algorithm, a kind of machine that acts on behalf of a human. And that really forces us to really think differently in terms of what is the future customer type of interaction that we can have. What's public and what's in the market is that a couple of weeks ago, Visa and MasterCard announced their AI type of commerce API suite. And so today, probably the OpenAIs, the Microsoft of this world, the Googles of this world, they are creating assistants, their chatbot right now that has the capability to not longer only give you a kind of itinerary if you want to have travel inspiration, but that you can give the mandate to also start booking. And so this creates all types of reflections. What does it mean for the retailer, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a glimpse on the future, and we collectively want to prepare for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very true, though, because I just came off a call with Visa who said it's all about agentic commerce now. So we're going to see more of that. Thank you very much for the insights, Anthony. As I said, Anthony will also come back at the end for some questions. So we'll move on directly to moving from bank to insurance with Ariane Bergmus from Ethias.
Hello, everybody. So yeah, my name is Ariane. I joined Ethias as Chief Digital 7 months ago, so that's really recent. But I've been active in insurance now for 7 years, and I promise you, I did not see this venue before. But my whole pitch and my whole introduction was going to be that since 7 years, I'm like Ariane in Wonderland. And when you came into the mushrooms, I had this was an epiphany. Now, why do I say Ariane in Wonderland? In 7 years' time being in insurance, because I'm not an insurer by heart, I've learned 2 important things when it comes to actually deploying technology innovation within a traditionally quite risk-averse culture. As insurers, we don't like risks, as banks neither, but I think insurance is even worse. And those are 2 things. First thing, most of the board members and the directors I work with, they look a bit like this one. You know this one? This is the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland who's constantly running around telling everybody that they're too late, right? So the first messages I got, also when I came into Ethias, is, we're going to be too late. The whole world is changing. We're doing a lot, but it's not going quick enough. What was it, Nico? I think 70. How much was it that says going too slow? More than half, right? Yeah. So this is not going quick enough. We need to speed up. We need to move up. And actually, the report is showing that that is a sentiment that is true. But then, when you come into an insurer that is about 1/9 times the size of big banks and big bank insurance and groups, etc., you're also confronted with the second rule, meaning that transforming risk-averse cultures means that you need to take into account the speed with which the company can actually move on. Perhaps they want to move faster, but can they do it? Because we have investment value, right? We want to know, we need to invest in all of things. How much do we want to invest? We have the culture of our people. Are they digital savvy? Are they AI enabled? Are they AI savvy? We have risk and regulation. Does everybody want to jump into it? And you have a number of reflections to make. Now, for Ethias, that wasn't different. And for Ethias specifically, one of the parameters, if you will, that was quite important in that reflection was we are a ethical, Belgium-based, very close to our people, human. You see it in the H of Ethias. It's actually standing for the human part of our interaction. How far do we want to go with AI enablement? Do we want chatbots that are asking our customers? Do we want to have that relationship with our customers driven via AI? Do we want to completely digitally and AI enable our workforce? Yes or no? So that was a reflection that has been going on since long before I came, and is actually still going on right now. And so the aspect of timing in how do we transform a company is actually a very important one, and it needs to be put in relation to all those parameters that are important in a company. Now, for Ethias, that timing aspect was very important, and we also have a Gen AI for all strategy, don't we all? It was confirmed there in the report. One of the aspects was, okay, how are we going to move about this? And we actually started way before 2023 developing a private chatbot, like everybody. We were experimenting with it, but Ethias is an early adopter, an innovator, but we are not an experimental company. We do not experiment. Why? We don't have the size for it. We don't have the investment power for it. We let others do the experimentation, and we're not too proud to admit that. You need to know your place in the market. So when we developed this private internal chatbot, it allowed us to learn. It allowed us to learn about the resistance of people. Because why did we do it? Actually, for exactly the same reason, Anthony, as you did. We wanted to give it to people to be able to work with AI to get less afraid of it, because that fear is a realistic thing. But then we said, okay, can we move on with this? Can we really scale it towards the full 1,800 employees of Ethias? Probably not with the investment that we wanted to make. And then the good news came about summer of last year that Copilot actually learned Dutch. Great, right? There are not a lot of people who in the world who are able to talk that language, but Copilot actually learned it. And so for Ethias, that was the moment to accelerate. And so what we did then is we took all those learnings and we said, okay, we're going to pivot. We're going to deploy Copilot for all, everybody. And now, actually, in a couple of months' time, we have an adoption rate that is at the height of the Belgian market for the moment in terms of Copilot. So we abandoned the internal private chatbot, but we went fully on board with Copilot, and we have, I think, Frederic, it's 1,200 people that actively use it out of the 1,800. Everybody has access. And we see more and more usage of it every day. They build their own use cases on it. They interact with it with Power BI. They make their own RAGs, etc. And so it is becoming a very powerful tool, specifically also to lessen the fear and to heighten the digital savviness and the AI savviness of our employee base. So this was a critical timing for us to actually accelerate the AI roadmap. And we did it with a lot of things. Governance, rules, and regulation. We live in Belgium. Unfortunately, it is a reality that it's becoming one of the core business models of all our regulators. It is to invent even more regulation than that they should have to. And I'm sorry if there's anybody in the room working on it, but I know that the entire sector actually shares my opinion on that, so that's okay. A lot of people in a risk-averse culture are really afraid of the governance and the compliance part. Oh, what are we going to do about it? Because the National Bank will this and the other one will that. Okay, so we went with the MVP of compliance, which we call this good enough. And it's a terminology that Frederic actually coined and that is now used in the entire company. We go for good enough compliance to start with. However, once we see the opportunity, because compliance can also be used as an accelerator, compliance can actually be used as an advantage. So what we develop in the good enough advantage and in the good enough compliance, we actually employ it now in central innovation framework. Why do we do it? In the meantime, we developed competency within the Ethias group, because Ethias is a group. We have a venture capitalist, Ethias Ventures. We work and we collaborate a lot with tech startups. So we have given a boost to that. We have grown into maturity. We now have the knowledge and the savoir-faire, if you will, to embed AI into our company so we can leverage that platform. And so now we can take everything that we learned, accelerate it, and put it into a central innovation framework for Ethias and the Ethias group. So again, we pushed the acceleration button on a timing that it was convenient for us and that it fit into our DNA and into our culture. The same thing with the use cases. Why did we deploy Copilot? To give a tool to people, to lessen the fear, but also to make them creative with it. And so what we saw is in a year's time, we actually had, and I'm Yeah, I'm always proud if I can talk about, like dozens of use cases, and then somebody like Anthony comes with 750 in production, and I go like, no, okay, but for us, that's a lot, right? So with dozens of use cases that we actually try to put in production, some failed, some succeeded, it's a trial and error procedure, especially if you want to industrialize them at scale. But it was a bottom-up grassroots innovation. Now that we have learned, we have pushed the accelerator again. 2 weeks ago, went to the board and presented a full 3 years hyper-automation roadmap. Why hyper-automation? You don't need to fix with AI what you can do with a good robot or with other things. It is also a very expensive tool sometimes to use, and sometimes somewhat fiddly tool to get right. So now we have pushed this acceleration button, so that means that for the coming 2 years, we have 28 big use cases that we will start to deploy transversely throughout the entire company. And the same thing goes for our AI architecture. As some of you might know, Ethias is a group. We own the biggest share, 83% of NRB, which is one of the main integrators of Belgium. So they are also our exclusive IT partner, of course. They had to develop the necessary competences for us to be able for us to scale a platform that could fit our industry needs. So we started with build your own, because we built our own internal private chatbot. We, of course, went everything on public cloud, because that was the easiest thing to do in the beginning. But now, as we are also, of course, a member of a group who wants to develop sovereign cloud and sovereign IT, we have the capabilities of going for a full hybrid approach, both in cloud and on-premise, but also in build and buy. Because again, we are Ethias, we have a significant size in the insurance company, but we have, of course, a limited size in terms of investment power. So we need to actually also let the innovation towards a couple of vendors, which we then can successfully integrate. This is the acceleration probably that we're going to take the most in the next coming years. Now is always the time to accelerate. And I had a small discussion with Nicola, not Nicola, so I tried to keep all the names out of each other. Say like, yeah, how, we need to start, because we're probably, it's too late. He gets the same feedback from his management. We need to start. What would be your key message? Well, my key message would be, now probably is the time to accelerate. Now is the time to go, because you can also actually profit from the early adopters and the first movers in the market who have created capabilities that are now widely available. You have lovely startup world that is also coming into maturity. So now would be the time to accelerate. And for us, as a group, with our own IT integrator and our own IT capabilities in our own hands, which is an advantage, for us now, probably 25, 26, 27 will be the year to accelerate, because we can actually take advantage of all the learnings that we did before. We have AI-ready capabilities. We have the potential to also deploy sovereign AI. We have now a slowly growing innovation ecosystem that allows us to interact with a lot of fintech players, and we can fully leverage all the group synergies, and we can bring actually the AI value that we are bringing in Ethias as an insurer to our other subsidiaries, Ethias as a service company, Ethias as a lease company, and Ethias as an assistance and prevention company. That was 10 minutes, right?
That was exactly 10 minutes. Thank you very much. It was exactly 10 minutes. That was very sharp, very well done. And normally I'm always on time to kind of hit my alarm before it goes off, but I was actually so enticed by what you were saying. So sorry about that. Great. So we've looked at the financial sector, the insurance sector, and as both of them have indicated, there are good solutions out there on the market. 9 of them are in the report, and 2 of them are actually here with us to present their use case to you, so you can have an idea of the type of services that they are offering. First off, one of our members in TUITech is going to present. We have Tamas here with a use case around reducing mortgage time to cash to 3 days with TUITech's lending AI agents, but I'm sure all of that will become very clear right now.
Hey everyone, I'm Tamas, Chief Agentic Officer of Intuitech, and really honored to be here and show you the first use case presentation, which is actually our mortgage agent, which is able to boost loan officer productivity by 3x and reduce time to cash to 3 days, basically. I know many of you already know us, but just really quickly who we are. Basically, in the past 8 years, we built basically nearly everything for banks, which is not a core system. And with that vast domain knowledge, 3 years ago, when we felt that the automation in that sector is still can be much greater, we flipped a coin and we decided that LLMs will be the new technology. Started to invest in Gen AI really, really hard. And we decided that this will fill the hole in that automation topic. So basically what we did, we started to invest really much into that. We had the first team 2 years ago. And actually the next milestone, which I want to mention here, is we are really proud of that in June 2024, our first AI agent went live in a new bank. And since that, we have a 100 people team who is doing agentic AI. And as per today, we have 15 live or post-POC implementation of that. But that's enough of the company. So let's get back to the topic, to the mortgage agent. So basically, what were the main factors behind those two main drivers, which I showed here? So basically, how we were able to reach that. And before going to demo, just some words about the topic. So application review time is the first factor. So here we were able to reach a really big decrease, what the loan officers are actually doing. The customer waiting time was halved in that sense, and also the resubmission rates in loan application decreased dramatically. So it's still quite unbelievable. So just some examples how it's possible to do. So basically, our agent, in case of the application, both offline or at the branches or online, is able to do quick checks to say you or flag you at the moment when you are doing the application that something is not right. So with that, while the client is still there and you can still reach it, you can just ask for corrigation on that. In case of review time, just really hands-on example. So for now, for a standard loan officer at any banks, it takes like between 1 and 2 hours to process real estate sales contract. With our agent, it's just minutes, and the officer just need to check the report at the end. And customer waiting times, this agent, which I will show you, is able to pre-draft basically every client communication, and also the first topic plays a role here. So with immediate feedback, it's also possible to reduce more than time. So nice talk, but let us see how it works actually. So let me give a sneak peek on the solution itself. So basically, all right. So basically, what you will see here is so it's an artificial upload platform. Basically, it's not happening here. It's happening at the branches or customer front ends. But basically, we uploaded the whole mortgage application flow. And on the officer side, you can see that the new application arrived, and we started to process that. What happens in the background, every data point is extracted, and some validations are run on that. And here is the result. So you see some descriptives here, and also the rules which were validated on this whole package. You can check here the validations and actually the issues found. Also, you can check all the data points which was extracted from this application. Next to that, all the rules which was validated. And also, at the last part, you will see all the documents which were actually uploaded or submitted to any systems, and which one was good or bad. Let's get back to the issues found, and let me just show you two of these. So first of all, really easy one. You always see on the left side the result, the reasoning, and the recommendation. And the issue here is actually there is a big, small capital letter difference between two documents. there is a rule which actually allows to the loan officer here to agree that. And we are updating the case and going to the next issue. The next issue is a bit more complex. Actually, it will be a real estate purchase contract. And here, our agent is able to check also semantic rules as well. So here, there is actually two issues found, and you will see that we are able to find it anywhere in the document, and also do suggestions how those should look like. Actually, there is a claim-free status and the mortgage possibility issue in here, and again, while updating the case, we are also adding to the package the new suggested document with the corrugated version. Also, another agent is integrated into that system, so if any issues found or the loan officer doesn't understand something, they can just go to the conversational part and ask for anything. Here you see the sole ownership question. But that's just also the possibility to chain agents together. Last capability, which I already talked about, is actually the pre-drafting of any communication, and also the documents were added to the system and sent back to the customer immediately. So it's really hard to show this in such a low amount of time, but happy to show it. The real software is with me, so later, if anyone interested, happy to show that. And just as the last thought, basically, we are building digital workers which can solve vertical workflows. That's why we are calling them expert AI agents. And our goal in the next year is basically to go through the whole banking functionalities and do a digital coworker for all of these. That's all, and thank you.
Yes. Is there anyone, we have time for one question, and the rest of the questions will be at the drinks, but is there anybody who has one urgent question that you need to get off of your chest now? No, you all want to see him do it? Ah, yeah, there we have a question.
Last year at the AI event, we were talking about the EU AI Act and how it's really going to affect us. Now, in mortgages in particular, we've got the problem of the social scoring, which is very high up in the AI risk thing. Does that affect you?
Yeah, so basically our agents are built on a way where we are not substituting actually in-place systems. So here we are just actually connecting with the in-place scoring systems, what you are mentioning here, I guess, and we are using that through an API, and we don't want to replace the scoring in here. We just want to automate what a human loan officer is actually doing, and the human loan officer is not doing the scoring. That's already in place systems at nearly every banks for it. So I can talk a lot about those legal and security questions, but all of them are actually solved, or either technically or either legally.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Moving to our last use case of the evening before we go to the Q&A and the panel is another one of our members who's also included in the report, which is text. Text written in Dutch. I often have to say when I'm telling someone, but I'm sure you have the same. But I'll let you go into the details.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right. Last presentation separating you from the food and the drink. So bear with me, just 5 minutes.
There's still a Q&A. So your
last presentation, right?
Last presentation.
Okay. So, in just a few moments, I'm going to show you your biggest nightmare. So what I want you to do is picture your favorite holiday destination. Put it in your head. It's the mountains, it's the beach, you're enjoying wine, food maybe, a nice hike. But then, you come back home. It's Monday. You need to go to the office. And what you see? Just a second. Wow. Thousands of unread messages. horrible, right? And if you're a bit like me, you want to get that number to 0 as soon as possible. Some not, some yes, but still. Luckily for you, you only have to face this a couple of times during the year. But this is basically what your front and back office agents are facing every single day. They have to face, and you can read it, but millions of emails about claims, live, non-live, investments they want to make, payment cards, whatever the questions are. They're pouring into hundreds of shared inboxes, your support at, info at, sales at, and on every inbox you have 5 to 10 agents who just work top to bottom trying to solve all these different cases. I think it resonates with you. You're not the only one, because this was exactly the situation at one of our clients. Typically, they work in a Microsoft stack in Outlook, and they received 750,000 cases per year. Over the years, they have built over 1,000 hard-coded if this, then that rules to try and automate all of these processes. And what ended up happening after all those efforts, that only 35% of all the cases got routed to the correct department. 55% still had to be handled manually, but even worse, 10% got kind of lost in transition. Yeah, that's a nightmare, of course. So resulting in, they still need 200 unhappy agents working on average 11 minutes per case. And this was the beginning of 2024. Now we're middle of 2025. And with text, we were able to correctly route 95% of all incoming emails directly into ServiceNow. Not only that, we managed to filter out all the spam and also all the object fields that need to be entered manually. We made sure that category, subcategory, sentiment, language, business department, that they were all filled in. And so what ended up happening is that agents who now just open their laptop in the morning, they don't need to first sort through all the cases and fill in all the fields. They can immediately add value to the customer. And this way, we saved around 5% of total time wasted on repetitive tasks that they can now apply to adding more value to the customer. But our ambition goes farther than that, because that's just 5% of solving customer requests. Email is just one part of it. You also have all your tickets or your systems. You have your Salesforce, you have your ERP, your other systems, but you also have a lot of documents containing a lot of information like SharePoint, and that's all unstructured data. And on the other side, you have all your complex processes. You have your KYC, AML, your claims, your investments, your corporate banking, your wealth management, your frauds. You have so many processes in your business, and our ambition as Text is to automate all of these. Not just the incoming traffic, but all the complex processes that you have. And how will we do that? By leveraging custom large language models. Because you mentioned it before, Copilot is nice and it can incentivize a lot of people, employees, to create new AI business cases, but they have a limitation. These generic large language models are not able to really understand your complex processes. So what we do is we plug into your systems and we make sure that we really adapt all the parameters in a large language model to really understand your business, and with that, those models are then able to automate all of these processes. Because when we talk to companies, there is always a functional analyst telling, yeah, but we have all this entire process mapped out and they think they've made a foolproof system. But if we go to the floor, we still see these customer service agents with multiple screens, copy-pasting information from left to right, wasting 11 minutes on average per case. So if your customer service department still looks like this, let's have a chat.
You can stay here for a second if there are questions. I can't wait until you move from just rerouting to also answering, and then not only for big companies with large numbers of agents, but very much for my mailbox. So let me know as soon as you've got that, then we can get that 10,000 down, because unfortunately that's not only after the holidays. That was my face that I made. Okay, great. Are there any questions at the moment that are burning that you want to ask? Not yet? Okay, so then there will be for afterwards during a glass of wine. But thank you very much for the presentation. We are currently also building a little bit of a set here. So if I can ask Ariana to please come back together with Nico and Anthony. We will do a short Q&A. And here to guide all this into the great hands of our board member and board member of the EDFA, Alison.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Don't leave me alone. You're the star.
No, let me go.
Okay. Thank you. As promised by Raf, are there any questions? Now is your moment to ask all your questions because you haven't had it yet. Is there any question for the speakers? Yes, Jeremy.
For Nico, Ariana, and Anthony, Nico, when you presented the report, risk reduction seemed to be very low in the use of AI. But as Ariana said, risk is your business, and to a large extent it's also in banking. Why do you think that is? Why is it they taking AI more to the other areas, primarily processes and customers, etc., and not concentrating on risk, which is basically your biggest problem as an insurance company or as a bank?
I think there are multiple reasons for that. The first is that it's a blend of answers from insurance companies and banks. And therefore, I think there is a bias where banks are not so much, less afraid of risk, as you said. And they're relying on risk algorithms that are already quite efficient. And maybe this is not yet the focus. But that would be my 2 cents.
Have you ever tried to have an actuary in insurance trust an algorithm that he doesn't manage himself? Sorry, if there are any actuaries. No, just kidding. But that is a factor of it. I think it's also not yet. This will come. But for an insurer, this is our core process. It is how we manage risk. And I think that the trust in the models is just not yet there to have it fully unleashed on the core business. But I think it's a matter of time.
I would love to give a kind of an example. So as banks, we need to check the AML type of risks of a client. So anti-money laundering score. I think that model exists already 5 years. And it's getting already on a super quality. But effectively, we then got the trust of our compliance teams and neither from the regulator. And as such, the investment was not worth a penny because there was no adoption. And it took probably 3 years to really get that trust. Also thanks a bit to the technology still evolving. We have an explainable type of AI module that can really show how we came to a kind of decision. But it took quite some time. And hence, if you think from an investment perspective, where can we have the biggest impact on the short term? If you need to update a CRM system based on what has been said in a call, the risk linked to maybe having a kind of wrong vocabulary for a certain type of discussion is, of course, a fraction versus applying today AI in sanction screening and having kind of penalty if you do a kind of false negative. And so there are indeed today other buckets where you can have high gains versus the traditional type of risk area that takes a long time before everyone is comfortable in using this. And if you want to have short-term impacts, you go for the short-term.
And also, I think that if I read the report, because I did take the time to do it, I mean, we were talking about chatbots, and if we look at the rate at which Gen AI has been implemented, it's plus 40% in the chatbots. For the coding assistance, it's plus 50%. But for the KYC and AML, it's a plus 60% from last year to this year. So it's actually where most of Gen AI has been developed, the biggest increase. So, any other question? Yes.
maybe it's a bit of a boring question, but how much
Never
time,
boring.
if you did spend that time, you spend, sorry, on the preparation of your systems, of your data for AI use cases?
You mean cleaning it up and preparing the data? I think it's still ongoing, but just go on.
Yeah, so I think in AI will surface the companies which have the best enterprise and data architecture. So from a time to market, if you have the ideal set that your data is available and with the right quality, both for training but also for controlling them all, then you are probably making a good chance to have a kind of competitive stand compared to the others. So it's a crucial element, and it's an ongoing type of exercise to really get that right. I would also refer that data is important, but lots of things that we are doing is maybe 10% of the real investment. It's really bringing people on board that is often forgotten about. So the ML case, how to bring on board the people who do the investigations, etc. You referred as well to the internal chatbots. It's a huge investment in learning and development to really bring people in. So it's not only data, but also the change management, I would say, as two barriers today.
It's a never-ending story, and it'll probably be never-ending. I think that's one of the domains where Ethias still struggles a lot. It's cleaning up legacy data, making it ready. And I think depending on the use case, it could go from almost half of the time to even more, because sometimes the technology part is easy, but it's the data part that's hard. Sometimes it's the other way around, which is why we are implementing the top-down roadmap to see where is the biggest gain, where can we go the quickest with the lowest impact, with the lowest effort, with the highest impact, etc. So it really depends on in which use case you are. Sometimes it's quite easy, sometimes it can take a very long time. Cool.
I have a question as well. Thank you very much for the report, because it's really good and super interesting to learn a bit more about what's happening in our industry. But I'm wondering, the examples that have been used are Belgian, so what is the view, or do you have a perspective on the rest of Europe and potentially the rest of the world?
Well, I would let this one to Anthony, because he's part of a group that is BNP. Yeah. Because, well, if we look at what happens from pure external perspective, I don't think that there's any shame to have in terms of how much speed we have. Of course, we don't have companies that are building large language models and are investing billions in terms of AI technology. But the way we use it, I think it's the Belgian mindset as well, is to make use of, a smart use of what is at disposal. Maybe you can share a bit.
Thanks for the hot potato. But I think that today it really depends on the area of focus. I think Belgian banks are pretty well on the efficiency side. Some banks are very good already on the customer engagement side, also for historic investments that have been done. If you look towards mobile, for example, there are two Belgian banks in the top there. So what I do see is that American banks, typically, also given their size, are typically a bit more advanced than European ones. It's also probably that because of regulation type of differences. So it's I would say it's a more regional type of difference, and within Europe, I have a hard time to find any pattern.
Any other question? Yes, Ken.
If I remember well, compliance and legal was not in the top constraints. It was mainly about technical integration. That was the main, say, talking point. When I talk to bankers, especially in use cases that are client-facing, they are saying, well, we'll never get this past our legal department, because every written statement that we do to a client is engaging, is committing the bank. So every word counts, so we want to see every possible combination that's going to send to a customer so we can pre-validate it. which is in generative AI pretty complex to do because you never know which, let's say, route it's going to take. So how did you tackle it, or are you going to tackle it with the legal department?
It remains the second place.
Was it second?
Yeah, it was second, third.
I think it's a big challenge, and one of the ways to handle it is as well by onboarding them in what really generative AI can bring. And so a bit of strategy, and I think it's also what I heard in Ariane's story, is that if you have everyone on generative AI and they see the capabilities as well to have a kind of access towards all the contracts and have a kind of digest, not by having a kind of enforcement to really scan the full document, you can provide some added value without too much risk for no reason. So if they see the benefits, there might be more, let's say, onboarding as well to reflect on the benefits and seeing the risk way. But it's a daily discussion.
I think there is a thing we surface in the report is that this technology is very different from all the technology that we use on a daily basis. This is a non-deterministic system. That means, 1 + 1 is not always equal to 2. And we all deal with deterministic system on a daily basis, except for this one. And that means, yes, it's good for creativity because it's random. But that's the legal department of the complaints.
We love that.
So I think the challenge here is also to explain that you can reduce this randomness, or you can make this Gen AI becoming a bit like deterministic system if you do a good prompt, if you put in place the right guardrails, etc., etc. So if you can take the time to explain and to showcase what is possible, then you start to have them on board a bit more.
Another question? Yes. Oh, sorry.
Anthony, you mentioned in the presentation that one of the pillars for implementation is going to be around process automation. And Ariane, you mentioned that you're now ready to onboard several companies as well from the outside to fuel the growth and the acceleration. So what are the typical use cases in process automation, and Ariane, if you agree as well, in process automation, that you would like to have the applications appearing first?
We're actually looking at a lot of departments. I think that one of the main areas where we can do huge leaps in process automation is, of course, in our claims department. I think for an insurer, that is where, first of all, where we have the key moment of truth with our customers. So this is where speed, efficiency, enabling our employees to give the human touch, and then having the process, handle all of the admin stuff, because that's also very heavy for us, of course. That's where we really want to focus, and also where the most of the benefits lie. And I said in the report, it's not only about productivity and FTE, and that's exactly what we mean. Of course, it will give productivity benefits, and we have a growing business plan, so we want to absorb a lot of our potentially new customers and the effort that brings. But so it is in claims, and it's actually all throughout the board. It is in automation, even further automation of first notification of loss. It is on how to find the most relevant customer data. It's about RAG reporting. It's actually almost every use case you can think about is what we want to tackle. So claims is one, but even in underwriting, we have for our B2B customers, etc. We have some couple of very important use cases, and this is actually why we have positioned AI as a tool and as a means in a hyper-automation roadmap, because it becomes really powerful if you can combine it with other technologies out there, such as low coding, RPA, etc. It doesn't substitute one for the other. It actually complements, and I think that is an important leverage and an important lever to implement, especially when you talk about end-to-end transversal process automation in a company. So. I don't know if that's an answer to your question, but that's one certainly. Anthony?
Two dimensions. So on one hand, you look for processes where there is lots of, let's say, friction or labor involved, and so then the traditional suspects. We have lots of calls that come our way. We have KYC, etc. But I'm sure that we only have, looking towards the presentation you just shared from a text perspective, probably we are having only a minor share of inbound emails that we really infuse with AI. The one I want to call out as well is that as a credit provider, we have lots of, for example, innovation credits. So customers need to also do some admin. They need to provide us, if you have a new home or you want to renovate your home, you can have a credit, but you only are paid out if you provide the invoice of the constructor. So we have quite some invoices that we need to process. An AI flow is applied, so AI can, generative AI especially can identify the intent of the client. He wants to get a payment. We can read the invoice, and if everything is okay, we just pay out automatically. We do that in 50% of the cases, and 50% of the cases is still escalated to a human in the loop. And I think the beauty of such a case is that we provide a better service to clients. They are paid faster, but also the labor, also the satisfaction of our own team working on that increased, because the pure routinous type of checks don't need to be done anymore. So they are there in the more challenging type of cases. And so where we focus is to find the sweet spot where there is a customer benefit and an employee benefit.
Another question? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious about the fact that whether or not you've conducted some survey towards customers about the appetence of like having more and more interactions towards like a Gen AI chatbot. Just because I mean we're talking about like making more and more automated processes and having like more automations towards like this sort of interaction. I'm curious if there are any sort of survey conducted towards customers.
So we have a very broad set of clients. So we have still clients literally that go to the BPost branch of BNP to do a rewirement. So paper transactions. And so we absolutely need to be very mindful that everything we do is, let's say, not preventing that we lose certain customer segmentation. So we will be very prudent. But we also have today clients that probably don't want to have the friction of calling a call center to be helped with certain service. So it really depends if you do a survey across your client base in what type of segments that we are. But we really will maintain a kind of multi-channel opportunity. So I'm not seeing a world that tomorrow we will be pure and AI-powered type of client interaction. I also believe that if you have AI and that you have an AI that is there damn good to handle your support and client servicing needs, there will still be, in our perspective, a huge role for human connection, for advisory, etc. So we see more the AI as being the one which takes friction out on the servicing side to have more space for the more advisory side.
We didn't do a proprietary survey, but what we know in interaction with our customers through NPS surveys, etc., is another dimension, because it's quite what Anthony says, but another dimension for us is the emotional dimension. When you're on the side of the road in a car crash or after a car crash, you don't want to talk to an AI agent. You want to talk to a person who can understand you. I recently had a health scare in Africa. I had to call my assistant. I had the choice, and I said, no, give me somebody to speak to now that understands that I'm panicking. So that is also a dimension that we wanna take, and this is why I said in the beginning, the age of the human. We want to look for digitally enabled and AI-enabled humans who can then, on a human level, assist people when they are in need. Of course, it can also assist in all the processes that Anthony said in terms of if you want to buy quickly a travel insurance or whatever, perhaps you can do that agentic wise and you don't care. So it really depends on the product, the service, and on where the customer is in his or her journey and when they need you.
Thank you. I have a question. We were talking last year. We were comparing, and this year you just got rid of it in the report. You were saying the predictive AI because Gen AI took the floor and all the lights. Now I didn't see much of agentic AI, just like future plans and whatever. But we hear that it's already ongoing. So what is going to look like the next report? What is the place of agentic?
It seems that agentic AI is a bit like LLM a few years ago, well, last year or the year after. So we are experimenting with it in those institutions on simple cases where you can show that the technology is ready and can bring some value. So I guess you. Ariane, Anthony, have some plans to pitch and get agentic AI in production for next year, correct? Yes.
Can you share the place?
Yes.
Not fair.
No, but it's for us, yes, but it is not one of the biggest use cases that we will deploy because we're still learning with it. What we're also trying to prepare ourselves for is for being the subject of agentic AI in terms of how do we make sure that we can actually do sales, underwriting, etc. From agents that will actually contact us. So that's also the ambition that we're thinking about. It's perhaps not immediately for now or for next year, but it is one of the major pillars that we're starting studying on right now. So, yeah.
Just probably for complaints management or so an existing process that you slice and dice. So simple action.
Thank you. I think we're up. Yeah, we're up with the time, I'm afraid. But yeah, we're going to stay. You're going to stay for food and drinks. So thank you very much, Raf. I suppose that you have some slides to so that the people who don't know about Fintech Belgium can learn about us. But thank you so much for
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alessandra, as well.
I did nothing.
Yes, you did. So, for the people who are new in the room, I know there's at least one person who's new in the room to Fintech Belgium, so this goes out to you and all the rest. Fintech Belgium is an organization started grassroots up for and from fintech organizations here in Belgium, going into our 10th year. Next year, we have about 115 members, which is 75% of the, let's say, serious actual fintech companies in Belgium. And we represent everyone towards the regulator, towards the policymaker. We try to bring you all together for learning, but also to meet with your clients, to meet with potential investors. And of course, we try to make sure that everybody knows that the sector is a great sector to be in, to work in. So talent is one of our main missions as well. We have a few events already lined up for after the summer. However, they're not fully concrete yet, which is great because that means that everybody in the room who is a member or a partner, or if you're a financial institution, we'll do it with you anyway because we like you. We have webinars and webinars and meetups coming up. So the dates are there. What we need is we need to look at the content. So that means if you have a great idea or something to talk about, then come to us, come to Joanna, and we can fix it. However, the first upcoming that is planned is our back to school networking event, which is the 28th, together with Paynovate. It will be pure networking, so there will be no content, but there will be drinks and food. And of course, we have our free breakfast that you can join every month here in the same location, actually, where we're going to have the snacks later. So make sure to come over for those. Take a look in our agenda. The biggest one that is the most concrete that I can mention, of course, is our Digital Finance Summit. So that's on the 2nd of December in Dieppe. It will be great because I was there for the first one, and I'm going to be there now for which I think is the 10th one officially. It will be interesting to see what has changed in all these years. If you want your ticket or information, you can scan And I should mention, for sure, I should mention that there's a 40% early bird discount currently still available if you buy your tickets. I would like to thank, of course, all our speakers that were here today, all our members and our partners, very much Sailpeak as well for hosting this with us and the awesome work on the report, and our partners and speakers that we have throughout the year. As Nico said, the report will be shared afterwards, but before we do that, you can also scan it here with all the QR codes on the table. There's two parting messages that I want to deliver. First of all, I would like a round of applause for the whole team at Fintech Belgium for setting up this great event. And secondly, here you can stand up, yes, but it's also very important that somebody has his birthday tomorrow in the team. So we have. Birthday to you. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing this moment with us. The cake will be distributed also, so everybody can get a piece. Thank you all for your attention. I would say join us next door where there's going to be some drinks and food.
Thanks.
Thank you.